Hello everybody, my name is Dave, and today I'm on a service call at our local gun range. And the reason I'm here today is because one of the motors that drives the auger system has failed. The other information that I have is that this gun range is split into two sections. Each section has two three-phase motors. In the past few years, several other motors have been replaced, along with, from time to time, also need to replace the fuses. So what I want to check today, I want to take a look at the voltage from source to load, make sure there's no bad connections, wiring connections on the terminals. I also want to make sure that there's no voltage drop going from point A to point B, because I believe it is a long run. And also want to take a look inside of disconnect where the fuses have been replaced, make sure there's no discoloration that may have caused a fuse to kick out and the system be running, doing a single phase run or trying to do a single phase startup. And I also want to take a look at the overload and see where it's set at, make sure that it's not turned all the way up. I want to take and get that overload set at the rating on the motor. I doubt if I add in the service factor, but this system is a auger system, so it's similar to a conveyor belt. So I did want to get that overload set at least to the point of the motor rating. So that's about all I know at this point. Let's go ahead and get started, see if we can figure out what's going on. What we're going to do now, we're going to go ahead and check the power right here coming into the main starter control box. I've already checked it over to disconnect. The power is there, the fuses are good, but sometimes you can have issues within the conduit coming over to there. So we're going to start here at this point and move forward back to the motor. Before you get started, you want to be sure that you have approved safety glasses and approved footwear for electrical safety. What we do now, we'll go ahead and check the power. Hopefully you can see the meter. We'll check the power from L1 to L2. L1 to L2 we have 213. L1 to L3 we have 213. L2 to L3 we have 213. So we have the power required to operate the motor. So before I try to start the system, what I want to do, I want to go over to the motor and pull the cover plate off of it and do a wire inspection on it, make sure there is nothing burnt at the wire connection. Before it gets started, I want to be sure that my power is off going to this motor, so I don't remove the cover and there'll be any burnt wires in there that may rub up against the housing while I'm removing it. My disconnect is within plain sight, so I know that I can go over and turn that off and be safe, and nobody can turn it on while I'm over here working. But for any reason, equipment that you are working on, you cannot see the main shut off within sight. You may sometimes you need to turn them off at a panel within the building. And if that is the case, you need to make sure that you have a lockout tag out for safety reasons, where you can lock that panel up and fill the tag out, and let people know where you're at, where you're working. And this is for safety. What I want to do now is go ahead and check the wiring of the motor and see if we have any open windings. T1 to T2 open, T1 to T3 open, T2 to T3 open, and that is probably why I'm smelling the burnt wiring smell. So what I want to do at this point is go take a look at the starter and see if we had any issues with the starter and the overload that may have caused this problem. I now have the auger system operational, and like I said, the main part here is not operating, but the ones that pulls the bullets up and dump them into the barrel, that is operational. What I want to do, I want to go ahead and test these overloads. You can see that I'm hitting the test button on the overloads and are not doing anything at all. So apparently these motors have no circuit protection or overload protection on them. So what I want to do now, I'm going to go ahead and shut the power back down and do a little bit more investigation on what's going on in here and be sure that everything is wired correctly. Now the customer told me it's probably about 5 years ago is when they put this timer in here. So I've been here tracing the wires out. You can see my safety loop. What they've done, they actually brought a neutral in for here to power this timer, because this is 208, 230. So it's a 120 on the timer, a 120 on these coils So he brought in a separate neutral to give me that 120 circuit. If you see the neutral, it comes up through, it goes up to the timer, then comes around through my safety loop. What they did, they looped both motor starters together, which is fine. That way, one shuts down, the whole system shuts down. They brought it around back over to my contact relay. But the problem here is this wire. What they done, they took and run a neutral over to there and it's jumped. So when they run this wire here, that bypassed my safety circuit. And that is the reason that the motors have failed and the reasons the overloads are not working. So I'm going to go ahead and while the power's off, remove this wire, cap it, and then retest the overloads. I now have the system back up and running. And anytime that you hit the test circuit, it should open up the contact and stop the power that's going to the motor. As you can see, it is now operational. It is back the way it needs to be. That there is also working. I will take and look at the rating on the motor and be sure that the overloads are set correctly the way they need to be. And this same system is over on the other side of the range, so I want to go over and look at that because the same company that put this in here also wired that one over there, so I want to take a look at that one also. After further investigation, I found that the other motor starter was wired the same way as the one that I was just working on. So I rewired it and tested the overloads. Everything seems to be operational. Like I mentioned earlier, a customer told me this issue started 5 years ago and they've been replacing fuses from time to time and going through a motor about once a year. So what we need to do now is have the motor that's bad, get it replaced, have the other motors tested with a meter. As you can see, we got the new motor installed and it has been tested. It seems to be working the way it should. I hope you learned a little something today, and thanks for watching.